Thank you for choosing to learn more about Fera. My colleague Dylan will be interviewing me on the topic of the 1930s Great Depression.
First of all, what was Fera and why was it needed?
Fera, or the Federal Emergency Relief Administration, was just a new name given by the Roosevelt administration to the Emergency Relief Administration, which President Herbert Hoover had created in 1932. It was the first relief operation under the New Deal, and it basically gave grants and loans to states. And the primary objective from this newly named organization was to alleviate household unemployment by creating new unskilled jobs in local and state government.
Well, what did Fera end up doing to help the Great Depression?
Well, Fera ended up giving states and other localities a total of $3.1 billion in loans and provided work, such as unskilled labor jobs, to over 20 million people and other developed facilities like factories, training facilities, schools, etc., across the country and public land.
To what extent was the importance of Fera an integral part of revitalizing the U.S.?
Well, without Fera, those 20 million plus people would have been left to rot in unemployment, and a large portion of the United States would have remained unemployed. A large portion of the United States would have remained bankrupt as well. In other words, without Fera, many of the U.S. states would have probably descended into some form of anarchy or lawlessness, as the majority of the nation remained bankrupt and unemployed. An example of this in more recent history is the looters in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina that ravaged their hometowns, because they cannot access the goods to put the food on the table, and they could not work because their towns and cities were in disarray. All in all, people will eventually get angry, bored, and need to find something to sustain themselves. Fera was key. Even for the mere 2 years it existed, it gave people something to do, which was crucial in keeping many citizens at bay and stemming the tide of the Depression angst.
Well, how do you think Fera could have been misunderstood then and now?
Well, now it's pretty easy to confuse FEMA and Fera, but those two are two completely different things, as FEMA is more natural disaster related. But back then, Fera wasn't just meant to hand out money to states. Its purpose was also to begin fixing the current problems of poverty and unemployment, and to have a major effect in the long run, not just the short run. And this was done by creating jobs that would help the economy in the long term, like getting those unskilled labor those skilled labor jobs, and just as like a base, and letting the economy regrow from there. Also, Fera operated a wide variety of work relief projects, including construction projects for professionals. Examples include writers, artists, actors, and musicians, and production of consumer goods. It basically gave people something to do when they were sitting around jobless. So as I mentioned before, it was a key part in keeping people almost not really entertained, but occupied, because it could have become a very volatile situation if it was left unchecked.
So how successful do you think the public works and relief programs were at achieving their goals?
Well, on the face, they were widely successful. Millions of unemployed people were put to work, and large numbers of roads, buildings, post offices, and public works buildings of all sorts built in the 1930s can be found in every state, every town in America, at least somewhere. So, yeah. If you want to learn more about the 1930s and the Great Depression with political problems, click on the annotations here.